everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. This is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. If you are new here, I mainly post Procreate tutorials, so if that is something you're interested in, go ahead and subscribe. Otherwise, before we get started, the only thing that you will need to do is download the color palette. I have it linked in the description below. It's totally free to download. Just open up the file that downloads and it'll automatically pop into Procreate, so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. So take a second to go and grab that and then come back and we'll get started. Okay, first things first, we will go over our canvas dimensions. They are 10 inches by 10 inches at 300 dpi. The color profile that I'm using is the second one on the RGB list. And for our layers today, by the end of the video we've used about 10 layers, so make sure you have at least that many available by checking here. If you do not, you can always lower your DPI here to get more. And this is our color palette that we are working with today. So we are going to go ahead and get started. We will do the background last, so we are just going to go right ahead and start on our Yeti. So we're going to kind of just start laying out his body first, and then we will go back through and texture everything. So we are just going to go ahead and grab this first color on the first row of the color palette. We are going to be on layer 1, and we are going to grab the monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. So the first thing that we're going to do is draw his belly. That will be on its own layer. So let's just go ahead and have your brush at whatever size it is at. Doesn't matter for this step. We will draw a circle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle, and then let it go. This is a little bit too big. I'm just going to make it a little bit smaller, something about this size. Then I am going to go ahead and fill it in. I'm going to click the arrow tool, and with snapping turned on in the bottom left, we are just going to snap it to the middle of the screen horizontally, so we'll see the yellow vertical line, and I might just move it down just a little bit so it's a little lower than halfway through the screen. About right there. Now on this layer, to make it look a little more natural, as he wouldn't have a perfectly round stomach like this, we will click the arrow tool, click on warp, and I am just going to use the bottom right corner here to drag it down a little bit. Do the same thing on the left side, just like that, so that it gets a little flatter on the bottom of the circle here and kind of makes it a little bit more of a strange shape rather than a perfect circle. Next, we will add his legs underneath him. So let's add a new layer, drag it below this layer that we just created. And let's go ahead and switch to the second color on the first row here, just so that we can see it a little bit better. We are going to use symmetry for this. So in order to do that, let's go to our gear icon in the top left here. Under Canvas, turn on the drawing guide, click Edit Drawing Guide. Turn on symmetry, and you should see a vertical line. If you do not, you might need to select it under your options here. Select vertical, and then we'll go ahead and click done. Now we want to go to our layer menu and just make sure that this layer that we're on says assisted under it. If it does not, you can click on it and turn on drawing assist. We are still using our monoline brush. Let's go ahead and just have it at 40 to 50%. And I am going to start on the right leg here, so just a little bit right of our center line here. I am going to draw a line that is first straight up and down. Hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly vertical. Starting at that point, so draw a line, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Not out quite as far, maybe just about out. About to where the side of his body is, like here. Starting at that point, I will draw a curved line going back in just a little bit like this. And then from there, draw another slightly curved line going back up to his body. To finish off the leg, And then we'll go ahead and close that shape at the top here and fill it in. Okay, and in my opinion, they're a little bit too big, so I'm going to use my arrow tool, switch it to uniform, downsize it just a little bit, and then move it back to center. Maybe move them up a little bit too so they're not so long. We're going to have them kind of shorter and squatter. Something about like that. Perfect. So now we will move on to the head area and the arms. They will all be on one layer, so the head and the arms will all just kind of make one big shape. So let's go ahead and add a new layer now above our original body layer. We will click on it and turn on Drawing Assist so we can use symmetry again. And we will grab the fourth color on the top row so that we can see it a little bit better against our original shape. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, starting right at the top of its body, draw a circular shape, hold it down. You don't have to touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle. Obviously, with the symmetry turned on, it looks really weird, so let's just click Edit Shape and bring them a little closer together. So, and then we'll move it up to the top of its body. So you'll have a shape kind of like this, and then we will fill that in. Then, starting at the top right corner here of his head, again, we don't want it to be a perfect circle, so I am just going to start pretty close to the top to really change the shape of it, and I'm going to draw a line curving and going down around towards the side of his body, just right about to the bottom of his original body shape that we made, something like this. And then I will do the same thing in the center here, starting at the very, very bottom of the circle, draw another curved line going down into his sides, ending at about the same spot as our previous one. And then from here, we are just going to draw a quick hand. So we'll draw one curved line for the main part of his hand, starting on the outside there. I'm going to click Edit Shape to just line it up a little bit better. And then just draw a little thumb to connect to this inside line that we created. And then let's go ahead and fill the rest of that in. So now this is his whole body. I want the top of his head to be just a little bit flatter, so I'm just going to go in and kind of flatten it out just a little bit. Trying to keep my lines pretty smooth. We are going to be adding fur, so if your lines aren't all perfectly smooth, that is okay. We will fix them up. Okay, so now while we are on this layer, we are going to add some fur. So let's go ahead and click on this layer on the layer menu, turn Drawing Assist off, and go back to our monoline brush. Let's drop the size to maybe 20%. And I am just going to go around and add some little fur pieces coming off. So kind of like little triangular shapes, almost little pointy triangles. Some that are just kind of like smaller little, just like sprigs of hair, and some that are bigger like tufts like this. On the left side over here, I'm going to make sure that all of them are kind of pointing in a more downward motion on this side. Not going quite all the way down to his hand. And then just kind of varying the little sections that I'm doing. When we get to the top, we will add one big tuft here. Like we'll add one big chunk here, and then a chunk in the other direction. And then maybe just a small little chunk or two on the side. And then now that we are on this side, we will have all of our fur going in that direction. something like that. And then we will also do the same thing on the inside here on the belly. So again, following the same kind of direction on each side and just adding some varying little tufts of fur all the way down till we get closer to the bottom where his hand is. Something like this. Okay, and then lastly we will add the horns behind the head. So let's add a new layer, drag it below this layer we just created. Again, click on it and turn on Drawing Assist. And then let's grab this third color on the second row here. This will be the color that we'll use for the horns. It's a little bit bluer than gray, but kind of, you know, still a grayish blue. And then we will just start about a little ways down the right side of his head from the top line here. I will make a swooping line out and up, hold that down. From that point, make another small little hook around, going around and hold that down. And then starting from that point, I will make another curved line going down and back in. Pretty curved, so it gets a little wider at the bottom. Go ahead and click Edit Shape if you need to make any adjustments, but mine lined up really well actually. Go ahead and use your eraser too, or your paint, or your brush if you need to kind of smooth any of it out. And then I am going to just kind of invisibly connect these behind its body so that we can fill in that shape. So this is what your picture should look like now. So now we will go back in and add all of our textures and shadows and highlights and everything. And then we will add the details on his face and the background. So let's just go ahead and start with the feet. Since they are our bottom layer, we will click on that layer, turn off Drawing Assist, click on it again and turn on Alpha Lock. And then we will grab so we used our second color on this first row to make the base shape. So let's grab this first color on the first row to add some shadows and texture to it. Click on the brush icon to open up the brush menu, and we are going to use the Hearts brush under the Artistic category. It's kind of a weird brush. I don't use it a lot, but I really do like the texture that it gives. So we are going to use that today for all of our textures. So let's go ahead and set it to like 15%. And the first thing that I'm going to do is just drag it kind of all over to give a good texture. Something like that. Then I will grab this fourth color on the top row and I will focus this mostly towards the base where his body is. Kind of on that upper portion. Something like that. Then I will grab the fifth color on the top row, drop the brush size maybe a little bit to like 10%, and just focus this mostly right exactly under his body to add a really nice shadow there. Go ahead and kind of blend it out a little bit by lightly pushing your brush a little bit further out to really blend them all together. But focus it pretty good right under his body there. And then we will go ahead and grab our third color on the top row, this lighter color, and with our brush again at a smaller size of about 10%, I will just kind of add a little bit of highlights to the tops and fronts of his feet. Just kind of randomly, no real perfection to it, just to really add some nice texture. I might even drop it a little further to like 5% and really just focus on the little tips of his feet. Something like that. So now you can see how big of a difference all the texture makes. And we will just continue to do the same thing with each little section. So let's next go to our body section here, the belly. Click on this layer, turn on Alpha Lock. No Drawing Assist was ever on for this layer anyway, but make sure that that is also off if it ended up being on somehow. And we use this first color on the first row to make the body. Let's go ahead and grab the second color on the top row, And again, we'll bump our brush up to maybe 15% and just kind of lightly add this all over at first to add a nice just texture to it. And then we'll get into more of the variations. So with this second color still selected, let's just kind of push down a little harder in this like kind of top area of his belly. I'm kind of doing like the top left area a little bit more. And then let's grab this third color on the top row and drop our brush size a little bit to maybe 10% and just focus this in the top left area a little bit more to really add some nice highlights there. But again, make sure it's nice and blended, so just kind of lightly push all over in that area to blend things out a little bit. Then let's grab our fourth color on the top row. Let's maybe put our brush up to 15 again and focus this kind of towards the bottom of his belly. Again, kind of focusing on the bottom right now a little bit more, since that's the opposite of our highlight. And then grab the fifth color on the top row, and we will just gently use that right around the edges. I say very gently because we do want a nice hard line where our belly meets our foot, so we don't want to push too hard to where they blend into each other, or we don't want the body to be any darker than the foot. So just kind of add this very lightly towards the bottom just to give it some more nice definition. But I do feel like these two are kind of blended together, so I'm going to go back to my foot layer with this darker color and just add even just a little bit more to really make that line pop a little bit. Something like that. But then our belly is done after that. So now we will move on to our fur layer. We did already turn drawing assist off to make the fur, but again, make sure that it is off and turn on alpha lock. And we used our fourth color on the top row to make the original shape. So let's grab this first color on the first row, this hearts brush still, and set that to like 20% since we have such a big area to cover, and just go ahead and lightly drag this all over to give it some nice texture. And then we are going to focus more in the middle of the body, not the edges, just this middle area, all the way down its arms and on its face. Then we are going to grab the third color on the top row and do the same thing, focus even more in the middle now, going pretty lightly at first. Something kind of like that. We are going to leave his body a little bit darker than the rest of him just to kind of change it up a little bit. I think that makes it look pretty good. Maybe we'll drop the brush down a little bit to like 10% and just kind of add some more little sections of highlight here and there. But I think that looks pretty good. Then we will grab the fifth color on the top row, and we are going to focus this just mostly on the edges where the little fur tufts are, and just all around the outer edge here. But again, kind of going lightly and blending it in with the rest of everything. We don't want there to be any like really clear-cut lines. We want it all to kind of blend together, so just push pretty hard when you're at the edge and then push a little lighter and kind of go more towards the middle to really blend everything together. And again, on the inside, the very inside here on the edge, we will do the same thing. its hands a little bit too. So now it should look something like this. If you need to go back through and add any more like highlights or anything after doing that step, feel free to. Like this got a little dark on me up here, a little too far in, so I'm gonna go add a little bit more there, a little bit more just to its face. But just kind of get it to where you like it. And lastly, we will do the horns. So again, click on this horn layer, turn off drawing assist, click on it again and turn on alpha lock. And let's see, we used this third color on the second row originally, so let's grab the fourth color on the second row. Same brush, maybe starting at like 10% this time since it's a smaller area to cover. Let's just lightly drag this all over to give a nice texture. Very, very lightly, and then focus it mostly on the bottom side of each horn, going all the way up. And again, kind of darkening it on the very, very edges, but then lightly blending it into the rest. Then we will grab the fifth color on the second row and let's drop it down to like 5%, and we will just focus this right on the top edge here, not going quite all the way to the edge, just focusing closer to it and kind of brightening up this little area here to add a nice highlight there. Something about like that. While we are on the horns, let's go ahead and add our first little detail, the little stripes on them. So we are on this layer still. Let's actually go ahead and click on it and turn drawing assist back on. Then we will grab this first color on the second row and we will switch back to our monoline brush under the calligraphy tab. And with our size at about 25%, I am just going to draw 3 straight lines, hold them down, one closer to the base here, one closer to the middle, and then one closer to the top. And they all kind of go in varying angles going out. Okay, next we will go ahead and add the eyes. So let's add a new layer above all of our layers. Click on it and turn on drawing assist. Go ahead and grab this second color on the second row. And starting a little bit out from the center, kind of right in the middle of his face here, maybe a little bit closer to the top, we will just draw a nice circle, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle, about this size, and then go ahead and fill them in. Next, go ahead and grab the first color on the second row, and on the same layer, we are just going to make another smaller circle on the inside, hold it down, touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle, and we want it to be a little bit closer to the inside and the bottom, so it's not perfectly in the center, but pretty close. I mean, you don't have to move it a whole lot. And then fill that in. And mine left a little halo around it that you can really see, so I'm gonna just zoom in and fill that in as well. And then we are gonna go to our layer menu, click on this layer and turn on alpha lock, leave it as assisted. Grab this last color on the top row that's 6th in line, and then with our monoline brush still and with assisted turned on, we are going to start about in the middle on the left side of this eyeball here and make a curved line going down and to the right. And then I'm just going to edit the shape and smooth it out a little bit. So it should have a nice curve going from side to side. Then I'm going to zoom in and fill in the rest of this. Something like that. And then fill all that in. So now we have our eyeballs. Again, go to our layer menu, click on this and turn off drawing assist. Leave alpha lock turned on. And then we are going to grab this 5th color on the top row, switch back to our hearts brush under the artistic category. Have that again down pretty low at 3 to 5%. And we are just going to very lightly add some texture all to the top here. And you want to just stay within the eyelid shape, otherwise you'll cover up this stuff and we don't want that. So just stay right within the little eyelid that we drew, and you don't have to add a lot, just a little bit here. You don't have to cover the entire thing like we had been doing before. So let's just go ahead and add a little bit of a highlight here with this, kind of staying on the top left of each of the eyelids. Then let's switch to the fourth color on the top row and just add a teeny bit more right kind of in the center of our original highlight that we made there. Something like this. Okay, so now we're going to add a shadow under the eye, and to do so, we will just simply make a duplicate of this eyeball layer that we just created, leave the top one alone with all of our details, click the bottom one that popped up. With Alpha Lock still turned on, we are just going to grab the fifth color on the top row of our color palette, go back to our layer menu, this bottom layer we have selected, click on it and click Fill Layer. Then let's go ahead and click on it and turn Alpha Lock off. And as you can see, there's some gray circles. You can't see them with this outer layer on top, but if you click it and move it around, you can see it there. But leave it where it's at. Click the wand icon, click Gaussian Blur, drag this up to maybe 10%, and then I'm going to click the arrow tool and just move it down and to the right a little bit to create a nice little shadow there for his eyeballs. Next, let's add a new layer on the layer menu above everything, and we are going to again click on that layer, turn Drawing Assist on. We're going to switch back to our second color on the second row and make sure we're still on our monoline brush here under the calligraphy tab at about 20%. And next we're going to make the teeth, and then we'll make the line over the teeth. So starting, in between our eye and the bottom of this layer that we're on, and then in a little bit from the eyeball, so not quite out as far as it is, but a little bit over from center, so kind of in the middle of this little area here. Draw a two-sided shape, hold it down like this. Click on Edit Shape, kind of adjust them, and then try to make it so that this left side of this triangle on the right here, the left side is higher than the right side. So adjust the right side down a little bit if you need to, just the teeniest bit lower. Click the brush tool again, and then just connect this in a mostly straight line and fill it in. Now that that's done, on the same layer, go ahead and click on it and turn off Drawing Assist. Stay on that layer, grab the first color on the second row, and this time we are going to switch to the dry ink brush under the inking menu. Let's have that at about 15%, and starting left to right, I am just going to draw a curved line, hold it down until it snaps at the end. Go ahead and click Edit Shape, and I'm just going to adjust the curve a little bit, and so it should cover the top of our teeth, and then curve on each side, like so. Then I'm going to grab the eraser tool and just kind of taper these edges a little bit better so that they're not so fat. We want them to be a little pointier, but nothing too crazy. The first one ended up pretty good. It was just this end one that ended up kind of fat. But that is the mouth for our Grumpy Yeti. And then one more facial feature that we will add is some eyebrows. So let's add another new layer. Again, turn on Drawing Assist. And we are going to grab this sixth color on the top row, and we are going to stay on our dry ink brush that we just used for our mouth at about 15%. And just in the top area here above the eye, I am just going to make a small oval shape. No real angle to it, it's pretty just straight across for the most part. Wherever you can kind of fit it up here and then fill it in. So with all of that done, that completes our Yeti. So we are just going to add the background and the little shadow below him. and then we will be done. So let's go ahead and just first add the background. So let's add a new layer at the very bottom of our layers. So I have to add a new layer and drag it down there. On this layer, let's go ahead and grab the first color on the last row and drag and drop it onto the background there. Next, grab the second color on the last row, and we are going to switch to the Driven Snow Brush under the Elements category. Have it set to just, 70 to 80%, and I am just going to drag my pen all over the background with this without picking it up to just add one nice layer of snow in the background like that. Then we will go to our layer menu, add a new layer, and we're going to go to our sixth color on the second row, our darkest bluish color here, and we're going to switch back to our Parts brush under the Artistic category, put that to maybe 20%, and we are just going to drag this all under his feet, going side to side pretty far, and then maybe going down a little bit further in the front, like this. And I'm going to pick up my brush and just kind of add another layer pretty close to where his body is here to add some more to darken it up there. So that completes our drawing today. I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and go ahead and subscribe if you want to see more tutorials from me in the future. If you would like to share a drawing on Instagram, I would love to see it. So go ahead and post it and then tag me so that I can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give me a follow so that you can see what I'm working on next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.